and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. It's the 1st of December and the holiday gift-giving season is just around the corner. So today we're going to explore the gift of reading. We have book selections for all ages and reading abilities, and at the end of the program I'll let you know how you can get a complete list of the books that we've highlighted this afternoon. Of course, there's no better source for books than a librarian, and I'm joined by two Vermont librarians who enjoy working with people and helping them find just the right book. I want to welcome back Amy Howlett from the Vermont Department of Libraries in Bellows Falls. And alongside Amy is Abby Nolan, who is the director of the Rutland Free Library. Thanks so much for coming up today. Now let's start with Amy. You've got several books and you're going to get us started.
I do. So I brought Goodnight Construction Site, and I have to say I've been book talking it to every parent and grandparent I know. So here's the thing, you really want kids to love books. So you start them off as young as you can, preferably in your lap, and you show them a book like this. So this one begins with daylight and ends with night, and in between we have these amazing photos of huge equipment. So your cement mixer, your bulldozer, your oversized dump truck, and all of them are going to bed. So each one, you know, stops twirling the cement mixer, curls up in a nice pile of dirt, and says goodnight. So for me, this builds on most boys' fascination with big equipment,
Absolutely.
plus the right terminology. And you can read it to them just before naps or bed. Just a gentle diminution from the day into going to sleep. Nice. So that's Goodnight Construction Site. Great text by Sherry Dusky-Rinker and wonderful illustrations. I really recommend it.
Excellent. And Abby?
Well, I happened to pick a book that was similar to what Amy picked. I guess we're both thinking of the holidays and trying to calm our kids down. This book was a top choice for our children's librarian, June Osowski, and it's called Breathe by Scott Magoon. It's a story about a baby beluga whale and their mother and how they travel through the day together. It's just a warm and relaxing, almost poetic, and it ends with the words, breathe, breathe.
Nice. I love the illustrations. It's so cute. All right, next we have...
Yeah, so this is the book with no pictures, and I'm glad you mentioned your children's librarian. This is such a great time of year to talk to an independent book dealer or a librarian about books your child might enjoy, or your best friend for that matter. So the book with no pictures looks terrible. There are no pictures. It's all black and white. Well, it's not all black and white. So the deal with this book is you're reading along, wondering what the point is, and you realize the point is that the person reading must read everything on the page. So this page, for example, says, I am a monkey who taught myself to read. Hey, I'm not a monkey. And now I am reading this book to you with my monkey mouth. So that's the gimmick, that the child sees the adult having to read this book. B.J. Novak is the author. He's famous to our 30-somethings for being an actor, director, and writer for The Office, but this is pure childhood fun. And if you're not sure how to read it, B.J. Novak on YouTube reads it out loud. So you can watch it first. I think it's also a book kids are going to pick up and learn to read themselves because it's so much fun.
There's nothing to distract them from the words.
No pictures.
What do we got next?
My next book was actually picked by my son, my 10-year-old, Alex, who is an avid reader. He picked Have a Chance by Cynthia Lord, who is a Newbery Honor Award winner, and she never disappoints. And it was a perfect book for him because we are new to the state, and this is a story about a young lady named Lucy, about the same age as my son, who's coming to New Hampshire for the first time, where I understand Cynthia Lord originated. So it's a beautiful story about friendship and how friendships develop.
Nice.
Perfect. Yeah. So I also have a book for that age group. I would say this is 5th grade and up. Courage Has No Color. It occurs to me that we have lots of vets in Vermont, and I wondered if there was a book that they might enjoy sharing. So Courage Has No Color, Vermont author Tanya Lee Stone, is the story of the first black paratrooper. So blacks in World War II were generally shifted into menial duties, cooking, taking care of the barracks. They mostly didn't serve in the front line. But this is the story of a group who trained themselves to become paratroopers. And it's the Triple Nickels. That's the name they went by because they were part of Platoon 555. So it's a very particular story about an exact group of people and how they ended up serving. The Japanese were bringing balloons in, which would land on the West Coast, and each balloon was full of explosives. So anybody going and picking it up would be badly damaged. And these were the firefighters that they paratrooped in, smoke jumpers, to defuse the bombs. But it's also a story of the continuing fight to integrate the military. It's not the same now. But for me, it combines history with a really amazing conceptual story. So that's Courage Has No Color, Vermont author Tanya Lee Stone.
Next, Abby?
My next choice is a young adult book by Neil Gaiman, The Ocean at the End of the Lane. I can't believe people have never heard of this book, so I'm hoping if you haven't, you will pick this up.
Okay.
Neil Gaiman is a phenomenal writer. He writes children's, young adult, and adult. This book, although it is for young adult, really speaks to adults as well. And the reason is the way he writes. He writes whimsical, beautiful. He bypasses your brain and goes right into your heart. So if you have not read Neil Gaiman, pick up a book by him as soon as you can.
All about the writing.
Yeah, I love the audio too. Families are doing a lot of traveling over the holidays. Perfect to have something like that in the car. So this is All the Light We Cannot See, a book with some heft. Anthony Doerr spent the last 10 or 11 years writing this. I think it would work for young adults, but it's written for adults on the bestseller list. Every store in the state is going to have it, pretty much guaranteed. 2 children growing up the years before World War II. An orphan in Germany, Werner, who is in love with the whole world of radios and whose skills make him somebody that the Hitler Youth recruit, and he goes through that brutal education process. And then on the other side of Europe, a young Parisian girl, Marie-Laure, and she is the daughter of the locksmith for the Paris Museum of Natural History. So the 2 of them growing up, and you know that the book will bring them together in the end. A wonderful story about childhood and about the things that mean so much to us. Beautiful writing. Remember that name, Anthony Doerr. I think I'm going to look for the next one as well as All the Light We Cannot See.
Excellent. And Abby?
Okay. For those of you who like science fiction,
That would be you.
that would be me. Heinlein kind of style, Michael Crichton kind of style. This is John Scalzi. He was up for a Hugo Award, and his writing is, he takes you down these paths where you think you're going to go and then just turns and takes you to another place, which makes the book very exciting. So this book, he will take that core idea, very plausible idea of what's going on now, and spin it off to a distant, maybe not too distant future. This one is about robots, and it also has a mystery involved with it. So it's a twofer. John Scalzi, excellent writer.
So I brought The Beautiful Mystery because I know we've got mystery writers out there. This is Louise Penny, our Canadian author. She is a fabulous writer. So as with all of the Louise Penny mysteries, it's Inspector Gamache and his sidekick Jean-Louis, and they have been invited to a monastery deep in the Canadian woods because someone in this very closed monastery, nobody goes out, nobody comes in, someone has killed one of the monks. So unfolding the mystery and at the same time unfolding the relationship between the 2 men who have come in and the seamy world of cop politics. Louise Penny is the best. And The Beautiful Mystery is also a fabulous audiobook, so I can also recommend that. But it's the book I brought, and there's a newer one in the stores. I mean, if you know the person you're buying for loves Louise Penny, don't get them A Beautiful Mystery. Get them the new one. That's important.
They've already read that.
Yeah, definitely.
Very nice. My next pick is Sam Keene's book. You might remember him from The Disappearing Spoon. The title is long, but worth it. It's called The Tale of the Dueling Neurosurgeons, the history of the human brain as revealed by true stories of trauma, madness, and recovery. So the title absolutely nails it. But the thing about this book is nobody can make science as palatable as Sam Kean.
Well, I was going to say, it sounds a bit dry.
Exactly.
Oh, but I love
But
good
it's
medical
not.
writing. It's fabulous.
If you're about stories, this is what it's almost like the yellow cheat sheets that tabloid kind of thing, like the guy who gets the giant pole through his brain and how he manages to keep functioning. All little vignettes like that just, you have to read it. But what I really like, besides these short stories that lead you on the full story of brain, understanding the brain, he has in the back the little bits and pieces for his footnotes that are just as interesting.
No kidding.
Like a piece, he has the hieroglyphic, the Egyptian hieroglyphic for what the brain is. You can see it in the back, and what it means is marrow of the head.
Oh, great.
Little,
Wow,
yeah,
interesting.
tidbits like that.
Interesting.
Fun read.
So the next book I brought is not, well, it is sort of a book. It's the movie, the Vermont movie, Freedom and Unity. A lot of libraries bought it so you could preview it. It's 3 DVDs. It's a lot of watching. But it is phenomenal, and I love that they've chosen to tell the story of Vermont's history through people. So there's Frank Bryan, our own Frank Bryan with that inimitable Vermont accent, talking about early Vermont history. There's Veranda Porsche, my part of the state, down in Guilford, speaking right to the heart about early 60s and Packers Corners and what went on there. Esther Swift, Vermont place name. So lots of people around Vermont and a wonderful vision of what a quirky, weird state we are. So the Vermont eugenics moment, not our finest hour by any means, abolition and what that meant, the Rokeby House. And for me, I mean, I love Vermont, but I'm prompted to go and read the original book, Freedom and Unity, a very solid history, but also to visit some of these places because I've been introduced to them in this wonderful, broad, sweeping Vermont history.
And you're bound to learn something you didn't know.
Oh, definitely. And you know, just that exposure to Bernie Sanders and Madeline Kunin and Frank Bryan, you feel proud that this is our state. Definitely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And almost a spin-off on that, I would like to recommend the Vermont Farm Table Cookbook by Tracy Medeiros. Now, being new to the state and picking this book up and seeing first of all, the beautiful pictures for recipes, but the way she involves her passion for Vermont from farm to table, food trucks, restaurants. It's just, Vermonters really have a different way of looking at food, is what it has taught me. It's a very complete, whole, organic kind of experience. It's not just quick in, quick out, throw something on the table. It's understanding everything behind what is on your table. And her passion for that just shines right through. It's a beautiful book.
Sounds terrific. What a great gift that would make.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was surprised to hear that localvore is not a word in the rest of the state and the rest of the country. It's definitely a word here. Localvore, yeah,
right.
somebody who eats local. But you say that in Florida, they have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, okay.
Well, my pick was The Language of Flowers by Vanessa Diffenbaugh. And what was interesting to me was I had visited, before I read this book, the Pringle Herbarium at UVM, which has all kinds of, you know, samples of flora and fauna from all over the world. And one of the things they had at the herbarium was a notebook kept by a Victorian lady with her samples of flowers and what the flowers meant. There's actually a language. For instance, honeysuckle is for devotion, asters, patience, strawberries are for unity. And I just thought it was fascinating that this was all intertwined in this book, which my librarian recommended, incidentally. It was a great story, and I just found it fascinating that flowers had such meaning back in the day. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, to get a list of all the books that we've reviewed this afternoon, you can write to the Vermont Department of Libraries at 109 State Street in Montpelier, 05609, or you can call the department at the number on your screen. It's 802-828-3261. That's 828-3261. I want to thank you both for bringing these great books, and I've circled a couple of names that I've got to delve into further and read myself. That's our program for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.